All right, good morning, everybody. We are trying to go live.
Good morning, everybody.
Ooh, there we are live now. You just heard me twice. That's how we roll here. The one-man band is back. Welcome, everybody. I know we got people watching that haven't been here in a while. We've been here all year, but obviously hurricane season is inching in closer, and people are now tuning in, which I appreciate. I'd rather you watch me all year long because we do talk about weather. Believe it or not, it's been an active year weather-wise. Very active year weather-wise. Iowa last night got another round of strong winds. They cannot catch a break. All right. Here we go. A little different today. We're going to go right into tropics. I know yesterday NOAA released their hurricane outlook for 2024, and man, I had people texting me, screenshotting me, like, obviously they haven't been watching. We've had a lot of outlooks in the last month, but NOAA is the official outlook, and of course what everybody kind of goes by. So we're going to keep the hellos short and sweet. I don't even have a dog. Darn it. I don't even have a dog. We usually have the dogs. Oh, man. I have no dog. Oh, well. You get the dogs next time. I don't even know where they're at. I got to get a dog. Hang on a second. I don't even know where they're at. Dogs. Louie. Hunter. I don't even know where they're at. Hang on. All right. This goes to show I've never been cut out to be professional. I know there'd be a lot of disappointed people if I didn't at least have a dog for a second. They were in there sleeping with Emily. Emily's got an ear infection, so they were in there. There's your morning yawn from Louie. All right. So anyway, welcome back, everybody. As everybody gets notified, we're streaming live on YouTube, X, and Facebook. So our daily brew will be pretty much live every day. Not the next 2 weeks, a little crazy on the scheduling. I got some stuff to go to, and so second part of June, like June 4th, should be back to daily. So you can always check my website. On the very top, I have a schedule on there when we're live again. You can see it. If you're a Brew Crew, I set an event on our Brew Crew page too. So our daily brew brought to you another year, 5 years, from our good friends at ABC Fine Wine and Spirits. Louis 6 years old, so he was 1 year old. ABC's been sponsoring us before even Hunter was born. Louis was just 1 year old. 1 year old. All right, so every morning when you wake up, this is a graphic you should look at. This is the National Hurricane Center outlook. That's today's outlook. We do have a yellow circle. Yellow circles usually mean an area that they're watching that could form into a low pressure. Notice this one has an X, then an arrow, and then a hatched area. So it's technically not a low pressure yet. They're expecting it to form into a low pressure in that little hatched area. So it's not quite where they think it's going to develop if it's got a chance. Louis bored. But anyway, it's going off harmlessly northeast now. It might bring some rain to Bermuda. We got people watching in Bermuda. But most of the core of that stuff's going to hang off to the east. It did bring a lot of rain down to Hispaniola. We've been tracking it for about a week plus. So these models come out every day at 2 a.m., 8 a.m., 2 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Time, in case you're wondering. So you can always refresh Mike's weather page or spaghettimodels.com or National Hurricane Center and see the latest outlooks. And we usually look at these and look past this. Usually we like to go long range and look at areas 10 days out. This is a 7-day map that the National Hurricane Center uses. So that's what's going on today. The official season starts June 1st. Yesterday, this is what got everybody worked up. Here's the Official NOAA outlook for 2024. So what does this mean? It looks like Pac-Man. Does it mean you got to go packing? I was wondering if that was a subliminal message from Pac-Man. Like, you better Pac-Man. You better Pac-Man. Get it? We're going to go right through the tropics, and we're going to slow down at the end and say hello to everybody. So I'm not going to be rude. We usually say hi to a lot of folks, but I want to talk all tropics. So here's the official outlook. Just came out. Let's do one last look with Louie, and I'll get rolling. I got to get my screenshot ready. So there we go. So this is the highest outlook they've ever put out. So NOAA puts out these outlooks in May. This is their highest preseason outlook ever. I got a lot of thoughts about this, okay? Don't get panicky first off, okay? There's a lot of points I want to make, so listen clearly. I've been doing this 20 years now, and hopefully I'm going to gather all my thoughts on this to make sense of what I want to message about this outlook and why don't be that worried. Okay, there's going to be a lot of good stuff I'm going to show you. So they're predicting 17 to 25 storms. Normally, like 14, I think is the average. 8 to 13 hurricanes, 4 to 7 majors. So in the yellow, this basically means that 85% chance they are confident of above average. That's the highest percentage they've ever had on a confidence of a high season. Now we're going to talk about where they're going to go, stuff like that. Okay, doesn't mean you're going to get all these storms. I had somebody at a Hurricane Expo think that this meant all these are going to be coming to Florida. So no, let's bear with me. So that's the outlook. A lot of names, a lot of favorable conditions. I'm going to show you here. Here's another outlook that came out from Colorado State University. I know, Colorado. Philip and the crew up there are the smartest ones on the planet, or no one's smarter than. How about that? You never say you're the smartest, but they're very smart. How about that? And they're predicting 23 named storms. Normal's 14. Almost double the amount of storm days. 11 hurricanes are predicted. Normally have 7. Hurricane days 45. Normally have 27. Major hurricanes 5. Normally have 3. Hurricane days, accumulated energy, ACE. Interestingly enough, ACE past 60 degrees is where they think a lot of storms might shift a little bit more to the west. I'm going to get into that with La Niña. That could be a little bit more of a concerning thing, meaning maybe a little less fish storms, which you all should know means recurve out to sea. So they're predicting a little bit more storms and strength a little farther west. Okay. Another thing to remember. Now here's another outlook from Joe Bastardi, Weather Bell. They were predicting that general track to the west. I can see that. Notice the East Coast. Notice the Gulf, Western Gulf. I'm going to get into that. They're predicting 25 to 30 storms, 13 to 17 hurricanes, 5 to 9 majors. That's a lot. And European comes out with their predictions every month, and they are predicting 13 hurricanes. So there you go. Euro predicting. So the bottom line, all this is everybody. Then the UK office came out yesterday. They're predicting 12 hurricanes. So you get the idea. Everybody's predicting a lot of hurricanes. Now, a couple modeling maps I want to talk about real quick. We're going to show you some water temperatures and stuff. So one of the reasons that they think we're going to have a lot of activity is one of the models here. This is on tropicaltidbits.com, Levi's site. This is a precipitation model for the months of August, September, October, basically showing all the way through Africa across, they call this the MDR. This is the main development region right here. So when you hear MDR, main development region, notice the moisture. This is inches above normal. And notice here in the Western Caribbean, okay, increased moisture, increased chances of storms, basically. So the long-range modeling is predicting a lot of, storm activity that basically stems off of the intertropics convergence zone, which is this line basically down here coming off of Africa. So a lot of moisture predictions. There are shear indicators. I didn't have any of those up. They're also on Tropical Tidbits. Here's a 3-month average of water temperature, long range, August, September, and October. Every model that I've seen is predicting above average water temperature too. So you have increased moisture, less shear because of La Niña. I'm going to show you that, and then increased water temps. So the water temps is probably the number one thing, the reason that they're predicting such high numbers. I'm going to show you some anomaly maps here where we're at. The water temperatures are definitely above normal, and they're, long range modeling suggests they're going to stay above normal. Again, where they go, no one knows. I got some graphics about that. So does not mean you're going to get a storm. It just means we're going to have more storm names. Okay. The point of this video is to try to calm down the hype a little bit. Okay. And realize it might not be as bad as to you as you might think. This is a great model. I just saw this morning a gentleman named Ben Knoll Weather. He's on X, puts out great quality stuff. This is a Coral Reef Watch map, basically just showing you where our water temps are compared to normal. And you can just see this red area. This is where we're looking. This is just kind of telling you, again, another map that we're way above normal currently than where we normally are during the anomalies of 30 years. So anyway, water tips. Now this is a very interesting model. I want to share these. This is a gentleman named Brian McNulty. Follow him on X too. He follows us, so props to him. This is this really interesting model map. Okay, so this is one I wanted to share. This is where I would be a little bit more concerned as far as believing some of these bigger hurricanes we could possibly see. So you've heard us talk about ocean heat content. This is the depth of the water, the heat of the water below the surface. So sea surface temperature is one thing. But when you have hot water below the surface, they actually measure the depth of the hot water. Not only the sea surface temperature, SST, they measure the heat below the surface. And these are charts that track the 11-year average here. 13 to 23 is the blue line. This is where the water OHC model has been for the Gulf region. And you can see it's starting to really take off. Now, I think we're really going to see this Gulf warming up, unfortunately. Just a week ago, 2 weeks ago, it was very cool, 70s still. And within a week, we've seen it jump 5, 6, 7, 8 degrees. We got a week of nothing but unbelievable hot temps coming. We got a big heat dome developing, 110 plus in Yucatan, Belize. We got 110 in Texas. We're going to see 100 in Florida over Sunday, Monday. So that Gulf's going to warm up. So we got to keep an eye on that. So this is where it's at now. Usually it's here, which is about middle June. So that pace is, it's really starting to climb. The other areas that are really climbing, this is the middle Atlantic. Now we know the eastern Atlantic is what everybody talks about being very, very hot. So one thing I want to say about that first off is eastern Atlantic this time of year usually has no storms until maybe July, but pretty much August. Many storms that form out here, the far eastern Atlantic, do curve. And they're not homegrown. The point being made, most of your most intense storms that we've had, at least in the continental U.S., have all formed in the Gulf region. And they've all been 3 days of intensification. So, a little less worried about eastern Atlantic storms. We don't get a lot of long track canes. We've had them before. It's just not too worked up about the water temperatures out there quite yet. What they are maybe in September, yeah, we might need to worry. August, September. But right now we'll see Saharan dust this time of year can help cool the waters. We have, that to watch for the next month. So we'll keep an eye on this. Now, interesting to note here, this line here is the 2023 temperatures. Now, I'm going to go into 2023 here in a second. Blue is the mean line from 13 to 23. But you can see where we're at today, May 21st, yesterday or a couple days ago, was where we normally are in August. This blue line is where we normally are. So it's pretty hot. The other area that he did is a little more important, I think, is the more Caribbean. Again, where we're at May 21st, when he did this plot, is normally the temperature in August. Almost second week of August. So it is concerning a little bit how hot the water is. If you've been watching my Daily Brews, we've been talking about this parallel track of these water temps. If they started to come together, then we're back to normal. But they are still staying above, which heat means storm. So that's the concern they're trying to let everybody know, is that we're in uncharted waters, meaning we haven't seen water temps this high. And that's a fact. Whatever's doing it, that's the big unknown. Rapid intensification is real. Heat fuels rapid intensification. All right, so it's just important to note the water temps is something that I do believe. Now, 2023, again, look at 2023. 2023 was the highest year of water temps prior to this year. People only remember one storm in 2023, and we're going to get into that. So water temperatures don't always mean 25 hurricanes hitting the continental U.S. It just means the water's hot. So the third thing that's driving these predictions is we're transitioning from an El Nino to La Niña. Heard that a bazillion times. Bottom line, these graphics kind of show where we're at. So they measure the Pacific waters, basically. There's an area in the Pacific they always watch. Once that water cools, it changes the jet stream pattern, and we have a lot less wind shear across the Atlantic. Years of La Niña typically have a lot more storms, and we're going into La Niña. Less shear, more ability of thunderstorms to grow upwards. We haven't used my toy all year, but what the hell, let's do it. This is my adult toy where's the top layer at? Oh, I don't know. Did it fall off? Anyway, I always show this as the shear. Haven't used it all year. These are all the layers of the atmosphere. Lower, middle, we got 1,000, 750, 500, 250 jet stream. When you get a lot of wind shear, upper level winds, it kind of disrupts this whole thing, and these things start to get ripped apart. When you don't have wind shear, storms have the ability to grow, and when they grow, they get stronger. So a storm, you don't want a storm that looks like that. You want a storm that looks like that, where the different layers are like all messed up from wind shear. So I always show that because it's a good way to look at wind shear. When all the levels of the atmosphere are able to stack up, you get rapidly intensifying storms. So anyway, that's why La Niña, they're a little worried about that. A lot less wind shear. This is El Nino years. I'm going to show you some examples. So I'm going to show you a lot of examples next, just different years to put it in perspective of we can't worry too much, because there's some years that we saw a lot of storms. Some years we were supposed to, but we didn't. So kind of take some of this with a grain of salt. Main thing is be prepared, be aware, as always, and especially in Florida. We'll get into that here in a second. All right, so when we have El Nino, which we just came out of, we have a really strong jet stream. This jet stream is still strong. That's why we had tornadoes in South, several times this year. But we had the Tallahassee tornadoes. We had a lot of rough weather across the southeast. This jet stream's still going on, fueling tornadoes through the wintertime. But last year we had the strong jet stream, which helped prevent storms in the Caribbean, basically. All right. So let's look at these years. This is a El Nino map that goes back in time. El Nino, La Nina. So a lot of the preseason forecasts are 100% based on this. Water temperature is a big one this year, but usually they look at this weather pattern and say, okay, we're entering a La Nina year. It's going to be active. So I got some examples up. Okay. Remember last year we were in a El Nino year, 2023. The red down here. See the red? Red means that section in the Pacific that I showed you is above the normal. When that area in the Pacific's cooler than normal, we have less shear, it's La Nina. When that area in the Pacific's warmer than normal, we have more shear, and red meaning those temperatures are above normal. So anyway, last year we were in El Nino. I hope I have 23 yet. I do. Okay. So this is what the weather map looked like last year. Notice there was a lot of activity in the Middle Atlantic. And I mean a lot of activity. People don't realize that 2023, last year, there was 20 named storms. Okay, 21 we run out of letters and we have to go to a supplement list, the old Greek list, right? So last year, believe it or not, if you ask anybody, last year, other than the folks, unfortunately, that had to deal with Idalia, they think the season was a bust. They're, season was terrible. They're nothing. They blew that forecast, But you know what? There was 20 storms last year during an El Nino. So most of your preseason forecasts last year were not calling for that many storms. Most of them were around average because of El Nino. So we had 20 storms. Now, we also had a storm called Lee that rapidly intensified like they've never seen. In fact, CNN had me on talking about it because that storm, if you remember, it was harmlessly in the Atlantic, but it absolutely just rapidly intensified like no other storm in the Atlantic has, I think, in history. Luckily, it didn't hit anybody. Problem is, going back to those water temperatures last year, those Atlantic waters were hot, and Lee felt that. So the difference last year, we had a lot of wind shear. The upper level winds were not favorable, so we didn't see a lot of, Lees. But notice this area here. I always want to point this out. So, we talk about a strong jet stream. So when we have the cooler waters in the Pacific, we have a subtropical jet stream develop, and this area is typically right here cut off. Look at that. Yellow is a tropical storm. So we had nothing in the Western Caribbean. That area obviously typically has a lot of storms. Now, if you remember before last season, we talked about 18. Idalia formed outside of that wind shear and unfortunately, impacted the north part of Florida there, Perry. Didn't make a lot of news because there wasn't a lot of population up there. But it was a pretty strong storm. A lot of surge. Really brought a lot of surge to the west coast of Florida. But it formed outside that shear zone is what I'm getting at. And Lee did too. Lee was over here. So storms found a way. One thing about Idalia, living on the west coast of Florida, so much focus is always on that landfall. But we had so much flooding from the Big Bend even down to places that were impacted from Ian that had surge that they didn't have during Ian. This storm was 125 miles off the coast of Pinellas County, and we had unbelievable surge here in our county here, along with counties to our north and counties to our south. But just to put in perspective, it wasn't even a major hurricane when it passed by Tampa Bay. It was still a hurricane. It strengthened at the last second, like they all seem to do lately because of the warm waters of the Gulf. But you just got to remember, Tampa folks, this isn't about you all right now, but a storm 120 miles off our coast that was just a hurricane produced a ton of surge. Okay, so El Nino year, not a lot of stuff. Now, let's see what other years I have up here. 2022. The reason I'm bringing up 2022, 14 storms, right? 2022 was a third year La Niña. They called for a lot of storms that year. We didn't get a lot of storms that year. We got a normal year, 2022. 14 is normal. They came back, a lot of analysis said, well, third year La Niña was kind of unknown. We don't have 3 year La Niñas. So anyway, the point I want to bring about 2022 was this. Obviously, we had Ian and we had Nicole. We went July and August without a named storm. And everybody let their guards down, I think. Not everybody, but everybody figured the season was a bust because we went 60 days without a named system through the whole month of July, through the whole month of August. So the important thing to learn from 2022 is 2 months, nothing, and we had Ian. Again, it only takes one storm. Points I make all the time. Don't get wrapped up in the number of storms because they could all be like last year in the open Atlantic and really only have one that impacted anybody. So, 19 nobody really cared about. We only had one that made a difference. So a lot of storms don't necessarily mean everybody's going to get something, okay? Big 2 month breaks doesn't mean anything either. Look at Andrew in 1992, right? August, the end of August was the first storm of the year. Everybody thought that year, I think the season was a bust. And then boom, out of nowhere, Category 5. And that was an El Nino year. Andrew came around that shear. Another year that was an El Nino year was 04. I don't have 04 up here. 04, El Nino years, storms have a way to find a way. They miss all this, and I'm going to show you 18 here in a second. But 2004, Francis, Gene, Dorian, Andrew, they all formed kind of where Lee did. went around that El Nino wind shear. All right, other years. So let's go to 2020. The reason I bring up 2020 is this. This is one of the years that they're comparing that could happen this year. 2020 went into the Greek alphabet. 2020 was a La Nina year. A recent year. Waters were hot, kind of like they are now. We had a tremendous amount of storms. Okay, that went way into the Greek alphabet. We had 30 storms that year. So a few takeaways from this. So when we were talking about El Nino, we saw the Caribbean was pretty much shut down, right? Here's the difference of a La Nina year. Look at this whole activity right here. We didn't see that last year because we had a lot of wind shear. This is what they're worried about. No wind shear, more chance of development. That means more chance for Gulf, West Gulf, Upper Gulf. Another thing you can see clearly here is very less activity here than we see here. And this is the Bermuda High. So some of the homework I've been doing more of is the push west could be real. Stronger Bermuda High develops, old timers know what I'm talking about, live in Florida their whole life. Strong Bermuda High, these storms here that normally, might recurve, now are being shoved more to the west because we have a stronger Bermuda High. So this is, I've heard a lot of analysis, done my own homework, East Coast Florida or East Coast Mid-Atlantic areas northward. Some of these storms that normally turn might, if we have that strong Bermuda High, this might be more of a chance for these storms to come a little bit more to the west. Caribbean, unfortunately. Let's get back to these long track storms we haven't seen in a long time. All right. This is the year for you to watch because anything down here, if we have that strong Bermuda High, is just going to keep on going west. And that means from the Lesser Antilles into the whole Western Caribbean there, we could see more of this chance that we haven't seen in a few years. With more of that push, towards middle to Western Gulf. Now, I had a good interview with somebody this week, and they were specifically asking about Florida. I don't think the risk for Florida are any more or any less this year than any year. Again, 2004 was a El Nino year, okay? But Florida had 4 storms that affected the state. 2018 was a El Nino year, but you know what? Still hit Florida. Last year was an El Nino year. Guess what? Still hit Florida. So Florida chances, to me, are there no matter what. El Nino, La Nina. To me, this middle Gulf West, and this is more August, September timeframe, before the cold fronts come down. This is why, Joe Bastardi drew an arrow that way. A lot of talk about more of a west push, a lot of talk about the East Coast, and that's because if we get that stronger Bermuda High setting up, more storms are going to have a chance to push. And this is an example of what they think could happen this year, and this is just 2020 because of the warmer waters. So now the waters are a little warmer. We're going to compare 2020 waters then to now here in a second. A couple other years I just want to point out. Here's 18, all right? So everybody remembers 18. That was Michael and Florence, right? Normal year, 14, 15 storms. This was an El Nino year. Just going back to what I showed in last year, this whole area right here, cut off. It's just fascinating to me to see this. La Nina, strong jet stream coming in through Central America there, pretty much eliminated all storms in that region compared to 2020. Again, because I just talked about Florida, Idalia and Michael found a way. They found a way to get going in the Gulf. Now, there's been 10 hurricanes that have hit the United States that have been 150 miles an hour or greater. This is the continental U.S., okay? 10 hurricanes have hit the continental U.S. that were 150 miles an hour or greater, hitting them at those speeds, not in the open waters. 9 of those were only tropical storms 3 days out. I can't make that point enough, okay? That just shows you 9 out of 10 storms were only tropical storms 3 days out. So You know how long it takes to get from here to here? Almost 10 days from Africa. So really, you watch them out west or east, but you really start to worry the closer they get. Harvey went into a remnant low, I believe, and look what it did once it got to the BOC and all those hot waters, right? So those are points, I hope, that kind of make sense. And going back to how storms find a way during El Nino years, this was Florence, and it went around all this wind shear, kind of like we saw with Jean, Francis, Lee a little bit. Lee didn't hit anything, luckily. So anyway, there's that. All right, a couple other years, and we're going to talk about other stuff. Here's 19. This was a transition from 20. I don't know why I put this up here. It really didn't mean much. I do bring out this year, though. 82 and 83. All right, 82, long way ago. 82. Now, the water temperatures were cooler than I'd admit, but I always like to show people this, maybe this could happen. 82 was an El Nino year. I don't know why I bring it up, 82. El Nino year, right? You think there's not going to be a lot of storms. There were 6 storms, right? It transitioned to a quick La Nina year, and we had 4 storms that year. Now, water temps were about 2 to 3 degrees cooler then than this time frame then than they are now. But I always bring this up. Now, will it happen? I don't know. But, 2 points in 1983, though. One, it was a La Nina year. 4 storms, all they had, right? But we still had a major hurricane, Alicia, hit Houston area. So, again, it only took 1 storm. We only had 4 storms that year. 1 was really, really bad. So, again, we can't get wrapped up in the number of storms. We could have a season like this where there's only 4 storms. But you know what? If you lived in the Houston area, northward, in that coastal line, it was a bad year. So, bring that up a lot. All right, so bottom line is that. There's 84. All right, so we're done with that. All right, water temperatures. And then I'm going to slow down and talk to everybody. All right, so let's talk about water temperatures now. This is your anomaly map. All right, I have this link on my site. This is from NASA, NOAA, Navy, all of them. All right, so this shows you how much warmer the waters are now compared to a 30-year average from 91 to 2020. So you can pretty much see what they're worried about, obviously, And this is sea surface temperature. This is not what Brian McNulty's showed with ocean heat content. But you can just see the water temperatures are hot. Hotter than normal, right? That's what everybody's talking about. Hotter than normal. Now we go back to 2020. Let's look at that 2020 in the same time frame. Let's go back to Laura that year. A lot of storms that year, not just Laura, but that was kind of when I started really getting involved with more and more data. All right, so 2020, I know I should have had this ready. I don't know what happened to it. It fast forwarded all by itself. So 2020, where they were at this time of the year, into May, this is about where they were at. So they're using 2020 as a comparative year because it was coming out of an El Nino and the waters were hot. It wasn't quite La Nina yet, but it was more of a neutral. Or second year. First year after El Nino was 19, and then this was the first true La Nina year. So scratch that. 19 was the neutral year. 2020 was the first true La Nina year after 18. But anyway, getting back to the water temperatures, you can just see. Let's see if we can turn the values on here. I don't remember how to do that. Let's see if I can show data, US data. So there's your temperature map. So the year of 2020, the same week of the year, you can just see on average 1 to 2 degrees. It was warmer than normal, but fast forward to now, there's a lot more red. And I know people hype when they talk about water temperatures and stuff. I know it's hot. I'm a Florida native. I can say it's hot because I've lived here my whole life. But this is hot. This is 2 degrees more than even 2020. So that's recent data. So again, we'll track the lines. If the waters start to come down, then maybe these high predictions might come down with it, but the water has not come down. The water's maintaining that heat that we saw back in January, February. I think the water in February was where it usually is in July. Now we're seeing the water now at the end of May is where it is in September. So, but we don't have any storms yet. There's a lot of wind shear. A lot more than water temperature. You got to remember that. Wind shear is a big thing. Dust can hamper storms. Just because we have hot water does not mean everything. We've had hot water before, and doesn't mean you're guaranteed storms. Hope that made sense. All right, so what do we got other than that? So a lot of what I do, if you're new to the page, we like to look ahead. We look at a lot of websites. This is one map that's on my site. I showed it last week, or this week, early week. I don't know what day is today, Friday. But anyway, these are long-range maps. They're wrong a lot. They're right a lot. But it looks into the future and kind of looks at areas. We do a lot of that on our Daily Brew. I'm not going to do it today because I don't really see anything significant anyways. But long range looking, we look at stuff like that. That's what I do. People like it. I like doing it too. I like looking at 10 days out. So, if we're looking into the future, we could see this whole general area. Now, there's something called the MJO, which I'm not going to show today, but there's a lot of signs that point to why they say that this area could be the one to watch as far as maybe something developing. The hatch means 20% chance, nothing high confidence. So when you see stuff like this, you got to take it with a grain of salt. It's experimental. But that's, where we could see the next system. I look at a lot of things too. There's, this is a weekly, this is updates every 12 hours from the Euro, but this is a tropical storm likelihood around that same date. It's not on the bottom here, but anyway, this was the first week of June, basically showing you something maybe trying to form off of there. And that's so historic this time of year. 99% of them go off harmlessly, but we look at long range. This is the first part of June on the Euro. This is long range looking on the GFS. I look at these kind of things. This is June the 4th. So, GFS picking up something down here, pulling it up. Then I look at the Euros. We look at that. There's a little faint lines. So a lot of what I do, if you're new to the page, is we do a lot of long range looking, and that's what I'll be doing all season long. So that's that. Let me put the page back up and bring it down to 100%. And that's it. And I mean, we'll start, I'll slow down here in a second, but when I hear people say the reason they come to our page, they like all the scenarios. So I guess one thing I've done over the years is look at all the scenarios. We kind of all come to the same conclusion based on those scenarios, what chances are where you live, and that's something I do a little different, since I've been storm chasing a lot more, I'm really able to portray the messaging in a way I never used to, especially when it comes to what you might experience. So I'm hoping this year, if we do have anything coming for you or anybody, I can at least communicate a little better reasons to evacuate, why you should evacuate, sources to go to, what you might expect after, ways to prepare, just really helping educate the before, the during, and the after. So that's a little niche that we've kind of got going on here. And of course the website's kind of your one-stop shop. So a lot of folks only go to the website, and it's got all the graphics you could ever want on here. So there you go. But that is kind of in a nutshell. So again, then we're going to slow down and look at some things. But just because we have a lot of storms predicted doesn't mean you're going to get them. We've had high predictions before that didn't pan out. We had low predictions before that ended up higher. So you don't know. They could all be fish storms. It's impossible to know where they're going to go or who's going to get what. So there's no point of being scared right now. I guess that's my number one opinion to say is, I have a lot of great links on here. National Hurricane Center, Natural Weather Service right here. How to plan, how to prepare. These are great links if you're really curious about it. Down here on the side, I have all kinds of hurricane helpful links right here. I mean, everything you could think of, from your kids to windows to Red Cross to shelters. So there's a lot of, having a family plan, a supply kit, weather radio, all this information's right there. So this, I agree with, this is the time of the year that everybody's talking about it. All these expos are going on. kind of know number one, know your zone, know where you live. And with that comes know your risk. Like, we live in Oldsmar, okay? We have a water risk. We have a surge risk. We have a where am I going to go risk. You can't go south because the Skyway will close. So, you kind of get things in your head. Where am I going to go? The thing that's changed over the years is evacuating tens of miles and not hundreds of miles. I think we all learned during 04, Charlie, everybody evacuated the middle of the state and Charlie followed you, right? It had just as much damage in Orlando than they did almost at landfall, some spots. So the number one reason to evacuate is to get out of the evacuation zones, and that's usually just because of the water. Now, I do disagree a little bit on the tens of miles. If we have a category 4 or 5 coming at you, you probably want to go a little more than inland, okay? Because when Michael hit, we still had category 3 winds in Alabama and Georgia. So you have to change your thinking a little bit on how far inland you want to go, because Ian did weaken into a tropical storm as it went through the state, but those major hurricane winds can't extend well inland. So my advice would be every storm's a little different, and like we would evacuate, let's say, to Wesley Chapel, living here in Tampa. But I can tell you what, if we get a storm coming up at an angle through the bay and it's a 4 or 5, that's too close for comfort for me. I would go farther inland and away, or south or north, or so every storm's a little different. But main thing this time of year is just kind of have an idea. Hey, what would happen if we did have a storm we had to evacuate? So there's a lot of great information out there on what you should have in a kit, and I don't get into all that because there's a lot of great websites on that. So biggest things too with pets. I did a video this week. Didn't realize that there's a lot of shelters and hotels that do not take pets. So problem over the years has been, okay, let's say you're not going to evacuate, and at the last second you're like, oh man, we better evacuate. Well, guess what? Where am I going to go? Well, first off, most shelters might be full. Hotels are full. They might not take pets. What are you going to do with your dog? What am I going to do with Louie and Hunter? So that's where you need to have a plan ahead of time. Like where you're going to go, what shelters are pet friendly, what hotels are pet friendly. This is stuff you shouldn't be deciding at the last second. And I think the number one message, I'm telling my friends in Florida this year, and I've said it 5 or 6 times in interviews in the last 2 weeks, is don't be stubborn. I'm going to use that. I'm going to use it. I'm going to say it. Don't be stubborn, because so many of y'all have evacuated in the past and you're tired of it. Nobody wants to evacuate again. I get it. I've done it, been there, done it. I ain't doing it again. But ask anybody that lived in Fort Myers area if they would have evacuated. Okay? Every storm is different. Just because Irma turned, Ian turned, Charlie turned, doesn't mean the next one's not going to turn. So you got to treat every storm different. You got to erase all the history, and you can't be stubborn when it comes to the power of these storms, okay? That's a fact. And anybody who wants to argue, I'm not reading comments, but anybody who wants to argue that's silly, then you have not seen the effects of a major hurricane, okay? I'm telling you. So don't be stubborn when it comes to that. And probably the other point I make too is, don't get caught up on the category strength, okay? Because every storm is different. Thing that irks me more than anything is Florence went from a 4 to a 3 to a 2 to a 1, and it turned into a $14 billion disaster for the East Coast. Hurricane Florence, 18. Flooding, slow-moving system. Only a 1, okay? Sometimes a weak tropical system can, because it doesn't have the winds. Remember, everything is judged on winds. A slow-moving tropical system can be just as bad as a 3, 4, or 5 in different ways. So Hurricane Ike was a Category 2 because it was weakening, but it still had 20-foot surge. Katrina technically was a 3 at landfall, but it had 28 foot of surge because it was pushing all that water up from the Gulf. You hear the headlines, storm weakened, it's like breaking news, and that just, because then everybody's like, But no. A lot of comparisons to Charlie and Ian. Two completely different storms. And, Ian was 4 times the size, double the surge, both category 4s. Totally different. So I'll be making these points a lot during the year. But I just wanted to share my thoughts on the forecast that came out that's already been put out by everybody else, but NOAA is official. So we will not know until the end of the year. But again, I used to be that Floridian that secretly cheered storms and wanted them to come and would get upset if they turned, I think everybody that lives in Florida and in the Southeast, for some reason, little part of you gets a little excited, maybe in a bad way, good way, but I've changed. I'm the Debbie Downer when it comes to evacuating now and getting the heck out of Dodge, because I see it on the EOC side, I see it on the sheriff side, the fire side. There's people cut out for it. I ain't saying everybody's got to do it, but if you're not cut out for what could happen, then that's what I'm going to portray. I told somebody the other day, I was talking to some official, and this is anybody in the South or East or, East Coast, if you're resilient and you're told to do something, most people do the opposite, right? I'm like, well, maybe we should tell them, don't evacuate. But here's what could happen, and this is probably what's going to happen. People might change their tune and think, it's their idea they should evacuate, rather being told to evacuate. So I think having more real life examples, I always share the Ian graph for my area, because 2 days before, Pinellas County was an island. We were underwater. 20 miles shift to the south, and unfortunately they got what we were going to get. And 2 days before, nobody evacuated. I'm just worried that one day we do get that one, there's going to be a lot of people that don't evacuate, and they're going to be unfortunate. So, but I hope some of it made sense to y'all. Anyway, I don't know. We'll see. Let me read your comments. A lot of people talking about other storms. Terry says OMG Wicks comes to mind. Hey, there's nothing wrong with going ABC Fine Wine and Spirits. Shelly Ross, correct. We're going to Memorial Day weekend. It's a weekend to honor all those that served and might not have made it back home. It's just the start of summer. Wear your red, white, and blue. Except for those that aren't from America, because we have a lot of folks that watch us from other countries. But it is our holiday weekend, and we won't be getting much rain. It's going to be hot. I didn't look at the heat temperatures yet, but it is smoking out there. Run from the water, hide from the wind. Correct. Tammy Benjamin. So 80 to 85% of all hurricane deaths are water related, believe it or not. That's incredible. It's a real stat. And that comes from inland surge and coastal surge. Inland surge, meaning inland waters and flooding, is just as bad as coastal surge. Water is not good. So if you're worried about storms, as long as you stay away from the water, you have a lot better chance. For sure. And I like hurricane parties. Harold, Katrina, correct. That was all these storms happen. I'll never forget Ida. So I wrote out Ida. I wrote up there to Ida, and believe it or not, I had a hurricane hunter texting me, and storms seemed to get stronger once it made landfall. And they have all those marshes that are hot water, right? We've seen it in Florida where a storm can intensify over the Everglades. It's called a brown water effect, where that becomes the fuel source, is the Everglades or the marshes of Louisiana. Ida did not slow down. And I'm at slow down intensity, and it slowed down in forward speed. And the problem with that came rain. And after it got dark, we were in that La Quinta Inn, and they had a local radio station on. That was when all of a sudden 100% of power went out. That big tower went down. All of New Orleans was out of power. Ida, a couple years ago. People started calling the show that lived in Laplace, and they were like, hey, we got water in the streets. There's something going on. There's water in the streets. Well, they had rain way away from coastline, but on the north west side of Lake Pontchartrain. Hundreds of homes were flooded. And I went back the next day and took drone footage, and you can see the destruction way past eye wall. Like, everybody focuses on that eye. And what you don't realize, and I've gotten caught in this. So another point that I need to make more and more of is we focus on the eye and the position of the eye and the coordinates of the eye. We look at the eye, but the bigger the storm, you can start seeing effects 12 hours before, meaning it's too late. You should have already been prepared. You should have been evacuated. You should have been boarded up, whatever. And how the effects go way past that landfall. Everybody, including me, hey, made landfall at 10:15 a.m. Everybody thinks it's over. Well, what we saw with Ida, and what especially saw during Ian, it went on and 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 on. It was like it was the never-ending hurricane in South Florida, and that just dumped all that rain. And those bands went across the whole state. Let's talk about Irma. People evacuated Irma from down in South Florida, went to places like Brunswick, Savannah. Irma was so big, the counterclockwise flow of Irma, even though the storm was off the coast down by Cuba, was already affecting the northeast part of Florida into the southeast there. I know I shared the story before, but a lady told me they evacuated and they woke up the next morning and their car was underwater from the surge off of the Atlantic there into the Brunswick, Savannah, wherever they stayed. So again, a storm, you focus on the eye and the landfall, and they were getting flooding up there from Irma. And that's the number one thing. Ian made landfall, came through Cuba, came up through South Florida there. There was tornadoes on that northeast sidewall, on the east side of Florida. So, a lot of them probably thought they weren't going to get much, but they had so many tornadoes in South Florida there, tornado warnings along the East Coast, from the size of the storm. So again, every storm's different. Crazy. But anyway, yeah, Stephen Kirby, I need to start showing you the size of the storm a lot more. It is amazing to think. Anthony, which hurricane hit Florida twice? Well, twice. I don't remember that one. Let's see. You mean like came around? No. I know Katrina came through Florida and then ended up through the Gulf. Ivan, maybe? What's up, Chad? Did Ivan come up through the bottom and then went back up to the Panhandle? Well, I have a cool tool. Check this out. We can check it out. Hit past tracks. Let me show you right here. Past tracks. And let's look at Ivan, because I think it was Ivan. Cool tool that NOAA has here. You can look at all these past hurricanes. Oh, that's the area. What the hell? I didn't know there was a country. It's in we just went to Turkey. I don't know where the hell we're at. Not in the Gulf. Ivan. 04. All right. Here's Ivan. Now let's go back to the other side of the world. All right. You're right. How did you know that? That was a good point. Good point there, Anthony. And thanks, Chad. There's your track of Ivan. God, I didn't even know that. That's right, Lindsay. There you go. Ivan. That's a wild track. I mean, that went all the way to Maryland. Ivan said, I'm going to go to Maryland. No, I'm not. I'm going back to Florida. It regenerated, though. What's green? I think that's just a tropical storm. Yeah, it was just a tropical storm. But hey, it still did a loop-de-doop. We had a lot of strange years. Look at which one went around in circles. Gene? That was the year of the loopy-doops. God, I didn't even know we should talk about that more. I had a 50-50 chance. Yeah, I got it right. So look at Gene. Gene did a little loop-de-doop. So 2004 was the year of loop-de-doops. That's where hurricanes first discovered ABC. Hey, Braxton. Good to see you, buddy. We'll see you, man. Good luck. Hello, Mary Ann Elizabeth. I'll say some highs now. I'm just slowing down a little bit. Loretta Reed, good morning. Ivan Jr. Gordon. What year is that? Whew. I ramble on. What's up, Teresa? Terry. What's up, Ian? Ian, I hope you get a Furman. I don't know if they sell Furmans now. You got Lowe's down in Caribbean? Faye. Faye was another one. Let's look at Faye. Fickle Faye. What year was that? I have no idea. There have been a lot of Fays. What year was that? Tell me the year of Faye. I don't know. 1978? Nope, that wasn't the one. Oh, maybe without an E. I think it was 2020. No, 2020? No. There wasn't even one show. No, that wasn't the one. It must be another one. Let's try 14. Nope, not even. Was it 08? By now you probably... Oh, there's Faye. That might be the one. Went through the state. Is that the one? 08? They have minds of their own. Somebody just said, long time no see. Who's that? Hey, boo. Well, I'm glad you're back. So if you want to know when we're live again, Shelly, are you cool with Monday? Because I'm leaving Monday. I know Monday's Memorial Day. I'd like to do one Monday. Yeah, Jessica, you can hear, that's Hunter. Sales tax holiday begins, Miguel. Thanks for bringing that up. Yep, we got a long 2-week holiday now, June 1st through the 15th. Cool, Shelly. All right, we'll be live Monday. Let me take a picture of the boys here. Show you what they look like. All right. Look at Louie give me the side eye. There's the ball. That's what. So Hunter's snoring right now. Hunter's the little guy on your left. And Louie is giving me the one eye. I think Frenchies are famous for giving you the one eye. They're just like, they don't move their head. They're just like. He's my boy. He's the original. Oh. Yeah, that was the one. That was right, Mickey. That was looks like you said it flooded Daytona. It looks like it. See, that's a tropical storm. I don't know the damage. That was 08. But apparently, you know, slow-moving tropical system that went through the state. Here's your timeline. You can zoom in here and see that. So, you know, it did not move much. These are your 6-hour points, so it just kind of stalled out there. You're right. Look at that. See, it just stalled for like, what, almost 2 days there over Daytona Beach. A lot of his history on that website. All right, well, everybody's good. I hope you're good. Hey, what's up, Tropical Troubles? We'll be live Monday. Yeah, so if you want to know when we're going to be live, I'm going to try to do one from the site up there maybe, so. But always right here. You can always check it out. That's when our next Daily Brew will be up. There you go. Check it out. We'll have all the links on there. Everything else looks good. We got big storms coming this weekend. I feel bad for the Indy race this weekend. So this is storms today, and really actually have a new enhanced area that's popped up here in Illinois. So we could see some tornadoes that area today. This is today. Brown area today. A lot of storms overall, thunderstorm coverage today all the way to the East Coast. Tomorrow we get a little bit dipping south. Tomorrow, this is tomorrow, Saturday. So some of this is going to get into Florida a little bit. I saw Tallahassee talking about it. Some thunderstorms might be coming down. Let's look at the HRR. But then again, middle part of the U.S., tornadoes got a hatched area. But day 3 is the one to watch, unfortunately, because we have the ND 500. And we got a hatched area up for that Sunday. And if you look at the timing of thunderstorms, if you're curious about Indianapolis, on Sunday, here's Sunday about noon, 11 a.m. Pretty hefty looking setup there. We got a low pressure 996. The Storm Prediction Center talking about a deepening cyclone. A cyclone is just an area of low pressure, but that's usually a surface cyclone. Here it is right here. Compacting, developing cyclone across the lower Mississippi Valley and through the upper Gulf Lakes by late Sunday. So I go put that out there and get a lot of people mad at me, even though they call them cyclones. But anyway, there's your low pressure 996. But unfortunately, 1 p.m., this is 12 p.m. Central. You can see that possibly 1 p.m., 2 p.m. That's pretty bad looking line going through Indianapolis. So I don't know what they do. You can't move it up because you got to worry about people getting out. They have to worry about TV. Oh, heat. Let's talk about the heat. The heat this weekend is going to be unbelievable in the south. All right, so let's talk about that. 98 Sunday for Orlando. But basically, it's hot. Here's Saturday, not so bad. It's bad Saturday. But Sunday and Monday. Monday is the hottest day. Here's Sunday. Look at that. You know what that big old H means Sunday? Right here, boom. Whoop. This little H right here. Where'd it go? Where'd you go? Right there. Right. Get your butt over there. How do I do that? Right there we go. There's your high pressure. Look at that. So if you think it's hot Sunday at 3 o'clock, it is. Because we got a high pressure heat dome. We're going to be at the race Sunday, though. Hopefully the air conditioner's working. Monday, look at these temperatures, though, man. It's the Yucatan is incredible. We got people chiming in from the Yucatan. It's been like 100 triple digits for them for the last 3-4 weeks now. It's ridiculous. 107, 111. Then Monday rolls around and 5 p.m. This is where we might see some records on Monday. So Orlando's showing 98. GFS 100. That ain't going to happen, I don't think. Look at GFS showing 104 on Monday. I don't think that'll happen. But hey, 98, I mean, come on. You know what? You just never know. 100. Oh my God. I bet you the official forecast is probably going to say 90. 98. All right, let's see what they say. 98. Yep, 98. 98. So they're not saying 99, but 98. 98 for Sunday in Orlando, 98 on Monday for Orlando. Rainfall. Let's look at the 48-hour map. Oh, let's see here. Oh my God, let's see model. Model HRRR. Let's see here. Let's go. Well, let's just go here for now. All right, so let's go 12Z. All right, so we got a couple systems. Right now, this little system happening now that's pretty gnarly overnight. It's going north. We got a new one popping in here. This little guy might end up, so we got a lot to watch. Here's the low pressure today getting on out of here. It's going to bring some nasty weather across Illinois. You see the little low. See it spinning? New systems starting to form for the weekend out here. I don't know if it's going to show. Here's these storms tomorrow. Saturday. See this leftover? See this big old low pressure leaving area here? It's attached like this. Look at that. Well, anyway, there's your storms tomorrow. This is noon tomorrow. You can see them maybe get down through the southeast some. Maybe a little sea breeze effects tomorrow. Look at that. Middle state pushing off. So you might get some South Florida storms tomorrow. Sunday setup just starting to show up here. You can see that low pressure. See it? And that, unfortunately, is 7 a.m. That looks really bad. Sunday morning. Rainfall totals here real quickie. Let's look at the rainfall for the next several days. QPF page, quantitative precipitation. All right. Here's today. There's tomorrow. Here is Sunday. Nothing. Nothing for some along the south and east Sunday. Here's Memorial Day. And Tuesday, Wednesday. Nothing. Total 7 day. Nothing for Florida. A little bit in the south. And that puts us almost into June. Saturday is the official. I always laugh about the first official start of hurricane season. It's like all this like drum roll and here it comes, here it comes. And he gets here and it's like, now what? Doesn't mean much. We should have 2 hurricane seasons. All right. Yes, Tyler, you're right. Indy 500 does not look good on Sunday. So, all right. Well, I rambled on enough. A little different than what we normally do. I don't know. Wanted to do a little something there. It'll be on my page through the weekend. We get a lot of people viewing our daily brew after the lives anymore. So there you go. I hope you all liked it. We will. Oh, how's the Saharan? Oh yeah. Let's do this just for our buddy down in Jamaica, Ian. Let's look at the Saharan dust real quick. It looked like you had a big batch coming. Let's see if it's still on track. It looks like it's on its way. Here it comes. Dun, 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 dun. All right, so next Saharan dust could reach in about 3 days in the Lesser Antilles, so maybe around, Sunday, Monday? And it looks like Jamaica a little bit going your way, the 29th. It's about 5 days from now. 28th, 29th, more the 29th. What is that, 5, 6? Was that Wednesday? So 29th. Looks like a little bit is coming your way. And a little bit behind that on the 30th. Or the June the 2nd, excuse me. So you're going to have 2 batches, 28th and then June the 2nd. There you go. So, yep, you got 2 rounds coming. Dushed. Dushed in the wind. Crazy. All right, well, everybody, thanks for watching the Brew Crew here. The Daily Brew brought to you by our great friends at ABC Fine Wine and Spirits. Don't forget Direct Remodels. We just had a Hurricane Expo with them. Bunch of MDWPs got some quotes. They're a great company located here in Middle Florida. They do hurricane windows. Unbelievable testimonies on their website. Check them out for yourself. They offering a 40% discount. There. Locally, don't forget my good buddies at Done Right Roofing. We're getting into that season. They have a great blog on how to prepare your home for hurricane season. If you live in Pinellas County, Hillsborough, Pasco, read all this stuff here. They got a lot about hurricane. I think it's on page 3, if I remember right. A lot of great stuff on getting your roof ready for hurricane season. Here it is. Get your roof secured before the hurricane. Then there's stuff about it after a hurricane. And about hail and a bunch of other stuff. They have a lot of amazing blogs on there, so check them out. We'll be heading up to Panama City next week to the Gulf Coast Jam. We're going to be doing a share here in a little bit. The buddy that got us a big house up there is going to be doing a Gulf Coast Jam giveaway that you can win. So maybe you can win those tickets and come hang out with us for a beer or 2 or 3 or 4, maybe 5. Maybe 6. All right, we'll see you on Monday for Memorial Day, everybody. All right, have a great weekend. Bye-bye.